What is good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts for your match preview of Chelsea versus Lincoln City in the Carabao Cup. And look, I think the dust has settled now. I think we've gone through our therapy sessions or whatever we needed to do to get it off our chest. For me, it was a stream over on the Blue Lounge with the Stanford Sync, Blue Clouds Media, and the Blue Lounge himself. And we got a lot off our chest in that stream. We said a lot of things and a lot of things that needed to be said. But now, we've got to get past that. We look to the future, to the next game, and the next game is Lincoln City, a Division 3 side. So they play in League One. They're doing all right this season. I think they're about third. They've lost one game, but they're putting in some good performances. So it's not going to be a walk in the park. However, on paper and based on the leagues we are and the caliber of players we have, we should be doing the job on Lincoln. But with competitions like the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, they're always rife with upsets. And we have to be aware of that. You'd be naive to think that it's not possible because we've already had one this season with Grimsby and Man United. So I'm definitely not going into this going, it's going to be an absolute walkover. It should be, but I'm not thinking about that, especially based on current performances and the way that we are performing. We know going into this game, it's going to be a heavily rotated side based on a lot of players needing a rest. And a lot of players haven't got as many minutes as they would have wanted, as the club would have wanted, because we haven't been performing as well as we wanted to be. So, with the squad, and we'll go into a few of the details of players that are not going to be available for this game in a second, there's going to be a lot of rotation, which means there could be a bit of a lack of cohesion, a lack of chemistry, a lack of team sort of build up. And we've got to expect that in this kind of fixture. Players that are going to be missing in this game, two that I'm surprised about is Badiashile and Lavia. They were fit and doing full team training before the end of the international break, but they're still not ready to feature in any capacity whatsoever, which is quite surprising. And I understand we're sort of taking our time bringing players back, but they've been training potentially full training for like the last 2 weeks and they can't feature even just a little bit, 10, 15 minutes. So I find that quite surprising. Right now I don't even know when we're going to see them. So they're missing. Cole Palmer, we know he's picked up a little bit of a recurrence injury in the Man United game. There was a slight rumor about surgery, which I hope is not the case because he may be missing for the Brighton game, but if he's going to have surgery, he's going to be missing for a long period of time. And I hope that's not the case. There's nothing really concrete on it as of yet, but as soon as anything drops, you will be hearing from me. Don't you worry about that one. And then obviously one of the more disappointing ones, which would have been perfect for this game, is Mark Yu. Now, it's not due to injury or anything. Mark Yu is cup tied because he played in this competition for Sunderland before we brought him back, which means he cannot play for us, which is really annoying because we've got no Liam Delap. We need to give João Pedro a break, but we can't use Mark Yu. So we're going to go into the starting 11 now and what I think Maresca is going to go with. I do think we're going to see a few of the academy faces in this one. So with that being said, let's get into it. This is my starting 11. Right in goal, this is a pretty simple one, really. Even though Sanchez got the red card, he would have never started this game. It was always going to be Philip Jorgensen. And it's even more important now that he's starting this is because Sanchez is not going to be available for the games going forward. Brighton's next. Philip Jorgensen will start in the Brighton game. So it's going to be good for him to get some minutes under his belt because I don't really remember the last time I've actually had to say Jorgensen in the starting 11. So it's a pretty simple one for me on this one. The right back, I think he is going to go with Gusto. I know Gusto and James both played in the game against Man United, but being that James is struggling with injuries in the past, I think he'll get rested. And you could say Atchempong, but I think Atchempong is going to be used in a different capacity in this game, which we're going to move right into next in the centre backs. So centre backs, I think he's going to go with Tosin. Again, for Fafana come off in the game tired. I thought it might have been an injury, but Maresca clarified that he was feeling tired. So I don't think he's going to get into this game. Tosin come on as a substitute, and it's looking like Maresca's wanting to try Trevor and Tosin together. So I think both of those players will miss out in this game, and he will go with Tosin, and he will partner him alongside with Ashempong. And we've seen Ashempong play this centre back role. We know he's capable. He's done it against Crystal Palace. So I've got faith that he can do it. I think, me personally, that's the best defensive we've looked for a while. when I look back at all the previous games and the errors that the two centre backs, whoever they be, whether it's Trevor and Fafana or Tossin and Trevor, they they look like they've been causing us problems of late. And Achimpong definitely locked down Mateta in that game. And I thought personally he had a good game, although it's subject to opinion because some people say that he didn't have a good game. So I think this will be good for him to get some minutes. I'm sort of advocating for Josh to make his way back into the Premier League team at the moment, being how our centre back situation is currently. But we'll see. But I'd love to see him start in the centre back role, get him some minutes and see how he does and fares against this Lincoln City team. Left back, we've got to give Cucurella a break, and Hato needs minutes. You know, I thought he'd done all right in his first game. The second game that he played, I think it was against Brentford, he looked like he struggled a little bit. So it'll be good for him to get some more minutes, a little bit of a lower sort of competition side, but it's important for these players, especially for the likes of Hato, because he's been brought in to replace Cucurella and give him a rest. He needs to get minutes under his belt. He needs to be playing more football. So I expect him to play the full 90 in this one. I don't expect him to be coming off for anybody, really. Pivot role. This is an interesting one because this is a position that we were absolutely stacked in. Like we had loads. And now, with the Sugo's injury, with the fact that Enzo and Caicedo need a rest, it really only leaves Andre Santos in terms of the five that we had because Lavia's not going to be available still. So I don't want to see Enzo and Caicedo in this game. They need a rest, especially Caicedo. So for me, it's definitely going to be Santos. I think that's going to be the best option we have to replace Caicedo. And then another player that Maresca speaks very highly of. And he's a centre mid, but he can play a defensive role. And I think he has done in the past. And that's Reggie Walsh. And you may have heard the name. You may have, obviously, we've seen him a few times last season. He is a player that Maresca rates quite highly. So I do expect him to feature in this game. And I think he's going to start from the off in that defensive midfield role alongside Andre Santos. Moving into the front line, but the 10, I think, is the easiest position out of the four to pick, being that Cole Palmer is injured. He wouldn't have featured in this game anyway, being that he needs a rest as well. And Buonanotte, who has featured for us once against Brentford, he cannot play against Brighton on the weekend, being he's on loan from Brighton. That's his parent club, so he can't feature in that game. So he's definitely going to get the start in this one. And obviously, perfect time because we need a player to play in that 10 for us. The wingers a little bit more difficult to pick, being that we've got three that need more minutes. Now, I think the left wing is going to be Garnacho. Maresca said he's ready to start. I think he would have come on against United had the game gone a bit differently. It did look like he was coming on. Apparently, it was because Fafana said he was tired and needed to come off, and they brought Gusto on, and that's where maybe his change got sort of taken away, and they decided to go with Gusto instead, being that they needed to make a defensive substitution. Not that I agree with that, as I would have preferred Garnacho to come on, but that is the reasoning apparently behind why he didn't feature, but he needs to feature in this one. Because on the left hand side, with Garnacho and Gittins, both of them need more minutes. Gittins is flattered to deceive, but we know he needs more minutes to improve. And Garnacho, just coming into the squad, needs to build up his match fitness, his match awareness, and he's only going to get that by playing games. So this is a perfect time to throw him in, give him a full 90, let him run out, get those legs pumping, and probably go on and score in a game like this, which would be great for his confidence. On the right hand side, this was where the tough one come in. Now, Neto is definitely going to be rested, so I don't expect him to feature in this game at all. He might be on the bench, but I would be surprised. I think they'll try and leave as many at home as possible and try not to use the likes of Neto, João Pedro, who will get on in a bit, Cole Palmer, and things like that. They're going to want to avoid using these players and try and freshen them up a bit for the Brighton. It's a long season. We need them as fresh as possible. Now, it's a tough one. I think personally, he's going to go with Gittins on the right hand side. And I know it's probably not ideal for the player because he's playing out of position. He would prefer to play on the left hand side. But Gittins is another player that needs minutes. Now, you can have the argument of Esteval, but being that Esteval was going to play the Man United game, we know why he didn't. I see him as being our starting winger, and being that we've got Brighton on the weekend, I'm pretty sure that Esteval is going to start against Brighton. So they need to get Gittins minutes because I think Garnacho is pegging himself on to be that starting left winger. So this kind of game to build up Gittins' confidence, to get him some more minutes, it's going to be perfect for them to utilize this. I definitely think Esteval will feature, but I think he will come off. And I personally think he'll actually come on for Buonanotte rather than Gittins or Garnacho and play in that 10 role because we know he wants to play in the 10 as well as playing on the right wing. Up front, this is a tough one, man, because there are options. There is Shimmerwaker playing, in the academy. We did see him in the Conference League last season, and he's doing well for the academy. But I just have a feeling that Maresca's going to go with Tyreek George because he has been trying him in that position for quite a few games now. And I don't like it. I don't want to see George there. He's not a striker. And the games that he has played, he played a little bit against Man United. We've seen him against Fulham and things like that. It just hasn't worked. He's not an out and out striker. He's a left wing. But I think because Maresca has done it in the past few games, he seems to trust George there. I feel like he's going to go with George rather than a Shimmerwaker up front in this one. But yeah, that's my 11, guys. That's what I think Maresca is going to pick for this game. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Who do you think would feature? Is there anyone in there that you would take out and replace? I'd love to get your thoughts, so drop them in the comments below. Right, score prediction time. Look, I think this game is important for many different reasons. Like, it's not going to be the one that's going to kickstart us on the form in the Premier League because there's going to be so many changes, and the players that are going to feature in this game are not really going to be like main starters, bar a few in the Premier League side. But what it will do is hopefully bring a better feeling and some winning momentum kind of thing, because every time you win a game you're going to gain a bit of momentum. You go into the next game with a little bit more confidence, even if it's just a few of those players that are going to feature in the game against Brighton. It is important, and it is important that we start not just picking up wins for the players but also for the fan base. You know what I mean? We've gone through a bit of a torrid time last week. I'm glad last week's over and we're moving into this week now to have a bit of positivity. So prediction wise, now, like I said, it'd be naive to think that this is going to be an absolute walkover. You've still got to treat Lincoln with some respect, especially going away to their ground. It's always a tougher time for players going away to the smaller grounds. But I feel like we've got enough, even with this squad, the starting 11 that I picked, to do the job against Lincoln. And I feel like it's going to be a 3-4-0 in this game. I think they will start strong, Lincoln. I think they're actually going to start out the blocks better than us, which I know it's odd to say, but we generally don't tend to start games very quickly. It takes us a little bit of time to get a foothold. But I think once we do get a foothold in this game and we start stringing a few passes together and the quality starts shining through, once that first goal goes in, I think the floodgates will start to open and we should see like 3-4 goals go past them in quite quick succession. And yeah, man, as I said, this is important for us to get some momentum going. Like, we've got to pick up a win in this one. Like, I don't even want to think about what's going to happen if we manage to lose this game. It's not even in the back of my mind. But I'd love to get your score prediction, guys. How do you think this is going to go? Drop your scores in the comments below. But that is all from me, guys. Now, if you are enjoying the content, smash that like button. Hit the subscribe if you are new around here. But for now, take care of yourself, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.